Hey everybody, it's Andy Blanks again from YM360 here with another teacher prep video. This teacher prep video is for lesson 44 of our Life Bible Study curriculum. As you know by now, because you're almost done with it, Life is helping your students know exactly what it means to be a follower of Christ, to live as a disciple of Jesus. We are on the second lesson in our last unit where we examine a specific discipleship trait or characteristic of a disciple. And if you recall, last lesson, we introduced this last trait, this sixth trait, a discipleship trait. And the trait is simply this, that as disciples, our teenagers have to be invested in multiplication. We talked about last lesson, there were two types of multiplication. One is kingdom multiplication, where that's evangelism. And one is what we're called individual multiplication, and that is growing people. That's disciple making. We're taking people who are already believers and we're helping lead them deeper in their faith. All of a sudden, right out of the gate, there are some of you listening to this and you're going, yeah, right. My students would never do that, or my students aren't ready for that. And I'm not trying to judge you or anything like that. My point is simply this. That is a common misconception, and I did say misconception in youth ministry circles, that somehow our students have to be, have arrived at a certain point to disciple others. Now, granted, do we have to be spiritually mature? Of course we do, right? I mean, but the point is, so many of us, even if we don't admit to it, even if subconsciously we sort of hold these thoughts, and our students certainly do, kind of have this idea that students have to be, our seniors or college students or young adults to be able to disciple young people. I mean, I know adult men who are still kind of waiting to be mature enough to disciple people, and that's just never communicated in Scripture. Timothy is a perfect example of this. And what we see in Timothy is that even as a young man, Paul entrusted him with great faith in training other people in disciple making and leading people closer to God and deeper in their faith. There's always going to be people ahead of us in their spiritual journey that are discipling us. And there should always be people, even if we're 14, 15, 16-year-old, whatever, that we can turn around and look and disciple and lead them closer. That's what we want to impart to your students. We're going to do that by looking at some of Paul's letters to Timothy. This is that great passage in 2 Timothy where Paul is encouraging Timothy to lean into the gifts he's been given, to not worry about the fact that he's young, and to don't let people belittle him or make less of his ministry because of his age, but to embrace the gifts he's been given and to be a person who is constantly teaching and pouring into people, even older people. I mean, that's what Paul's saying to Timothy, and to conduct himself in a way that's above some of the trivial stuff of relationships, and just to be an honorable person who's engaged in disciple making. It's a big picture view of discipleship, and that's what we want to teach to your students. We want to communicate to them that God's plan for them is that they would be investing in multiplication, they'd be pouring their lives into other people, leading them closer to God. They don't have to be experts. They don't have to be, the most mature Christians in the world. They can teach other people what God's doing in their life because God is working in their life. It's simple as that. We want to challenge them to do that, to embrace multiplication, investing in other people in this lesson. And I want to challenge you to help your students think about places in your youth ministry where they can serve, where you can help them embrace this idea of multiplication by disciple making, by leading other people closer to Jesus. I know you've got room in your youth ministry for it. Let's be people, you and me together, who challenge students to make a difference in this generation and their generation by disciple making. They can do it. They can handle it. We've all seen it. We know they can do it. So let's challenge them to do it. I hope this lesson's a powerful one for you. I hope it equips you to have good conversations. And I'm excited about talking with you on our next teacher prep video. Take care.